Hello everybody, it is Ebontis, and in this video I want to give you guys some tips, just some upgrades that I do recommend going for, give you some examples of like parrying, combat, and just kind of the cycle of weapons and things that you're going to see. Now, for reference, this is the first kind of open zone level. I'm not going to show you where all the secrets are, but my goal is to use this as just like examples of combat arenas so I can explain some of what I'm talking about. So that's the goal in this video, but before we get into kind of the gameplay, weapons, and all that type of stuff, I do want to cover settings first. Timestamps will be in here, so if you guys find this video beneficial, you guys know what to do. But first, let's talk about settings. Biggest one is difficulty. You can honestly play this game however you want. My advice is just from my experience. I bumped it up to Ultra Violence. Normal is Hurt Me Plenty. And if you want to go for the story and just the gameplay experience, you can go Aspiring Slayer, Nightmare if you're looking for a crazy challenge, and you can change things as much as you like. Do you want damage to demons to be even less? Do you want their damage to you to be even more? Do you want the game speed to be crazy high? The enemies to be dazed shorter? Do you want projectiles to be insanely fast and resources to be weak? You can do all of that and have a most ridiculous challenge. Or you can play like us mortals and, you know, pick one of the normal difficulties. Basically, the reason I would say Ultraviolence is for those who have played before is the parry window. A lot of the game involves the parry. I'll show you guys some examples. The parry window on Ultraviolence is pretty forgiving as it is. And if you go to Hurt Me Plenty, it bumps it up even more. Also kind of changes up a few other things. But the biggest thing to note is Ultraviolence feels like just a step up to where it feels like a challenge, kind of was on my toes. I was aware, you know, I was leaning forward in my seat a little bit more. If it was on Hurt Me Plenty, I think I probably would feel a little bit bored just because I'm comfortable with shooters. I played Doom 2016, some of Eternal, didn't beat it all, but like if you're comfortable with shooters, if you've played a decent amount of Doom recently, that's probably what I recommend to have a decent challenge. If you want to go crazy Nightmare, you can. If you feel like everything is good, but you just want a bigger parry window, that's fine. If you think the parry window is a little too big, that's also fine. Like, you can tweak a bunch of stuff. But my recommendation is if you played before, probably start on Ultraviolence. You'll have a better time and not be bored. But truly play however you want, change whatever setting you want, and don't forget about these. Also, in the settings, you have gameplay. So, I mean, you've got things like camera shake and weapon bob, but also accessibility. If you need any color, camera adjustments, world desaturation, parry, recoloring, any and all of that type of stuff is here too. So find what works for you to make this game fun, because if you picked it up, you want to have a good time. But if you're looking to have at least a little bit of a challenge and you're pretty comfortable with Doom, I would probably consider kicking it up one. Nightmare may be a bit much, but this will kind of keep you engaged. Now, when it comes to upgrades, you're going to have weapon upgrades, you're going to have shield upgrades, and you're going to have melee upgrades. My advice is the level that I'm on is when you get the flail. You have a dragon mission before that, you have an Atlan mission before that, you have a tutorial mission before that. When it comes to spending your gold for these upgrades, I wouldn't put a lot into the gauntlet. Not as though it's not bad, I'm sure it's a viable option. The flail just seems to be so much like of a step better to me in most things. I mean, you can hit enemies that are scorched, get them to drop extra armor, and there's just some cool stuff that you can do. You can actually lower the cooldown time. It's kind of the middle for cooldown times, and it always felt like it was never too much of a big deal to get my cooldown back. So having something that hit harder felt better. So when it comes to spending your gold, which you'll get as you run around the world, the biggest thing to know is make sure that you are probably waiting on these, because the shield upgrades, you're going to use them the entire game. Now, the runes you get like mid-game or later. These are things like when you do parries, you get different effects like a lightning storm or an auto tort or knives going out or a big shockwave in the ground. Those are cool and they have upgrades, but you'll be late game and you'll kind of know what you're vibing with, weapons and other stuff. But probably some of the most important upgrades, even weapons can wait after most of this stuff. Shields. When you parry the green Hell Surge attacks, which is all the green ones, when you parry those, you have a much bigger shockwave. You can throw your shield into energy shields, which are the blue ones you can see in the little graphic, and it will bounce around. There's different ways to break those. You can have the width of the shield. See, it's like maybe the shield, maybe a little wider. This thing goes like twice as wide, if not more, when you extend this thing. So clearing groups of mobs, much easier and more effective to also get yourself more ammo and armor and health and all that type for drops. Steadfast is probably the most important when you're dealing with these bigger melee focused enemies. The Cyber Demon, I'll show you one of those. Any of these melee focused enemies where they're trying to do a couple combos on you, sometimes you're going to miss those. Sometimes you're not going to get the parry right. Sometimes your shield is going to be down. You notice in the left-hand corner, you're just holding block and you can take damage, but if you take enough damage, your shield is down for a little bit. And then you'll have to wait for that gauge to go from all the way from red and then fill back up with blue to be able to use it again. Some of these enemies are on you. So getting this thing back up and in the action faster Probably the most important thing because you use your shield so much. Down here, killing multiple enemies will empower your next shield throw or shield charge, which the shield charge is nice, but the empowerment is more a bonus than anything. The Blade Master, though, I'll show you guys that as well. It's a way to basically shut down any of these like mid-level enemies for a little while. Lets you focus damage on them, lets you take them out of the equation, because sometimes there's just one too many, and if you can just delete one for a little while and then use your weapons on some of the other stuff, lets you get back and kind of split up the encounter, because there's a lot of stuff coming at you sometimes, and it's a way to divide. So I have all of these unlocked. You probably won't have them all unlocked by this mission, but I would advise focusing on the shield upgrades as an absolute priority. Now, when it comes to your weapons, there's different things you can do to your weapons. I can make my shotgun light enemies on fire when I do some more damage. I can have my shredder, which is the kind of full, it's kind of like your machine gun. I can have this thing when I fire enough of these shredder ammo into a bigger enemy, usually it will glow. And then I can throw my shield and cause an explosion. So personally, that's a nice way to get a good focus. And then over here, you can either have the accelerator, basically start building up charge and doing more damage, and then you get into some of like the pulverizer or ravager, all of these things with the skull ammunition that you can switch to. The ball and chain is pretty crazy looking. The rocket launcher, grenade, that stuff comes a little later. But like the first three weapons, main shotgun, the one where you start to light enemies on fire and they give you ammo, not a bad way to go. The pincushion is a really nice way to just do damage focus on the bigger enemies, because it's a nice way because this weapon has a solid amount of range and you're able to do damage from range, and then you can set them up with your shield throw, get a nice explosion, and really kind of focus, because the smaller cannon fodder enemies, not as big of a threat in my opinion, and useful for both getting a little health back, traveling around the arena through shield charge. So it's really the big enemies you focus on. The smaller ones are more just kind of there to be cannon fodder and in the way. And then for your accelerator, and then also the, the cycler, these are both pretty fun. But you can see if I click in here, these are the upgrade options I'm going to have. So incendiary, I do really recommend that one. Eventually I'll have these options you can pick between, and I can have burned, drop more armor, and then the burn is instantly applied once firing. That's a great combination as you work through the upgrade tree. Super shotgun is just a monster. It's like point blank range, but massive damage and good against armor. So the shredder, this is pincushion. I like that more than ricochet because as I said, I'm not too worried about the little guys. I want the big guy to take more of the damage, so I kind of set him up to knock him down. The impaler is the alternate fire of the shredder, and this is like a ginormous nail gun. It's just fun, but very specific uses for it. And then you got the accelerator. Plasma rifles are good against energy shields. And then the cycler is the same way. It's got some shocking abilities. Then you get into the skull ammunition, which I didn't use quite as much. Not saying it's bad, I just didn't feel like it was necessary. The ball and chain packs quite a wallop, and you can get it kind of supercharged up. And then your grenade launcher and rocket launchers are cool. Like the rocket launcher, you can even parry, and then have your rocket launcher damage that would normally hurt you actually heal you. So there's some cool stuff in here, but early priorities, incendiary, pincushion, and then right here is feedback. Building the charge allows you to do more damage. Pretty amazing. And then shock, depending on when you get this unlocked, was huge. Dealing enough damage to a demon with cycler applies shock. Shock demons take more damage. So if you're working on a bigger enemy and you're shooting them with this, they're going to take more damage no matter, even if you like run out of ammo, you can still attack the other guy over there and do more damage to him. So those are probably my first four. And then shield is like a priority. So depending on if something's a little more expensive or maybe something's like $250 and a couple of these are like $100, for example, then you can cycle between a couple of the cheap ones. But I'm telling you, the shield you use so much, that is my priority. And when it comes to melees, wait till the flail till you start upgrading, and then you could probably have a little bit of fun. When it comes to the final weapon, the Dread Mace, you get that so late in the game, you'll have figured out kind of your general path. So that's the general weapon upgrades I would recommend. Melees, wait till you get the flail to even start upgrading those. Shields, as many of those as you can prioritize down on these. The runes, you just unlock those like halfway through, so I wouldn't even worry about it. And then for your weapon upgrades, basic shotgun, basic shredder, and basic accelerator and cycler. All four of those are a great place to start, not too expensive. And now we're going to cover how to get some of these upgrades. So this is the map. Now, I've found everything in here, so I know exactly what's coming and where. But when you run around the map where I have a bunch of check marks and little gold diamonds and stuff like that, maybe a gold chest over here, you're going to see a lot of question marks. Those are secrets. They're going to be all over the place. But anything that looks like this is gold. So you're always going to want to look for gold pickups where you can. Those are small amounts. That's a little bigger amount. And then over here you had like kind of A little harder to get to, but you've actually got like a gold chest worth like 50, so some pretty big chunks. The gold is used to buy the early level upgrades. Find as much of the gold as you can, and this is why I would also say get comfortable with your map. Because when it comes to what you've got in here, where gold is, certain encounters, collectible toys, codex entries, shield runes, you'll find those later, weapon skins, your gemstones for even higher upgrades, like gold is first for your upgrades, then rubies, and then wraith stones. All of those are different upgrades that you're going to see in here. But like if you wander around and be like, man, I haven't explored this weird little area and there's a bunch of question marks down here, I got to figure out how to get in here. Maybe I need a key to get behind this door, so then I have to find a key. Now, one of my critiques of the game is just the way the levels are designed, especially the more linear ones. You get a key maybe like 2/3 through a level, and then you got to backtrack through to other areas to be able to use the key. Pay attention to the map, and that's going to be probably your best friend to know where you haven't been, have been, and hopefully where, if you got a key, you're like, all right, I haven't been to like these two little hallways, probably are keys, head back to them and you'll know. But the more secrets you find, the more weapon upgrades and shield upgrades and melee upgrades you're going to be able to afford. So I do advise looking around, because it is going to benefit you to have more things unlocked, because the better your arsenal is, the more effective you are in combat. So I actually do really recommend trying to get as many secrets as possible, because your arsenal gets to be really cool when you get some of the late unlocks. I just don't want to spoil them, but I will tell you, the faster you get to them, the better it is, the more fun you're going to be having. But yeah, looking at your map, finding where everything at is really beneficial, but also being able to, like, I don't know if all of this stuff is over here, like the 11 secrets, and all of these are like full giveaways, because I've done all this already. It might just be sitting over here, but there's like 500 gold in this level. That's going to be a substantial amount of upgrades. Now, the other place you're going to get gold outside of looking for pickups and like a chest that you bust open are challenges. So each mission is, the mastery is when you fully level up a weapon, so don't even worry about those till later. The missions, you'll have, hey, if you have a Hell Knight, parry 10 of their attacks. You're going to get 50 gold from that. Unstoppable Force, strike demons with the flail 25 times. You're going to get 50 gold from that. If I destroy 4 artillery cannons, that's a weapon skin. But what this will do is it will potentially change the way you're approaching a level. You'll get new weapons pretty frequently early on, and you'll be cycling through those for a little while, so pay attention to what the missions are, and if you get a new weapon, it probably involves that, or it may involve, you know, attacking a weapon enemies a certain way, or parrying certain objects, or whatever it may be. So it's probably going to kind of get you to play a different way, but also help you understand all the different mechanics of the game. So especially in the early missions, pay attention to the challenges, try and do them, because it's likely those are kind of like mini tutorials in and of themselves. The game has a ton of tutorials. Like if you pull up tutorials, you can look through just about everything that you'll see, exploration, demons, and all that stuff. I'm trying to go fast so I don't spoil anything in case you're worried about it. But overall, the challenges are really good for gold, but also kind of a way to get you to get a feel for a certain combat type. And then from there, once you finish the challenge, you can go back to what's comfortable, try the new thing, but you'll just have experienced something new. But between your map and your challenges, find all the gold that you can and the secrets for the upgrades and the gems. And then also if you find like certain combat encounters are going to give you these, which are health, shield, or health, armor, and then also ammo upgrades. So the more completely you explore basically every map, the more complete your arsenal and upgrades are potentially going to be. So the tutorials will tell this to you, but I want to show you a couple things here just as basics to mention, and then I want to show you what they look like in combat. So if you block, you will block stuff coming at you, which is a good thing, but at some point your block will kind of take your shield out of the equation for a little while, it'll disable it, and then you've got to wait for that recharge. That's why that upgrade for the shield is so important, because the sooner, if it does get used too much, the sooner you have it back, the better. Now, your shield charge allows you to cover quite a bit of ground, and you can actually, for one, get a nice little blast radius when you get there, but also if you're in a pinch against a big enemy, you see a little cannon fodder guy far away, charge to him, take a second and breathe, and that'll help quite a bit. The shield throw does two things. One, you can throw it into like medium enemies. Two, but you can't throw it into like big bosses because it'll kind of bounce off, but the medium enemies, bigger than you think sometimes, will kind of stagger them while it sits there and grinds, and then you can kind of work on unloading them and setting them up for kind of like a finisher type. Anything with the purple outline is going to be a big melee kind of kick or melee weapon finisher. Those are nice. And then also when it comes to kind of the demons, this is that execution or glory strike. So a glory strike potentially is gonna, knock a mounted rider off of a big demon, or take a chunk of armor off, or, wound an arm of a big giant cyber demon, stuff like that. The glory strikes are really good. They're going to help you, one, get some health back, which is really important. Potentially executions, same thing. If you get an enemy, that mid-level enemy to that purple outline level, always try and execute them. Going to help you get more health back as well. And then your melees, of course, are going to be important because you get your ammo. So if you do your melee attacks, you're going to be getting your ammo back full, and also like the power gauntlet, you can see you've got different combo attacks and putting stuff together. So you'll get a feel for which ones you like. I would wait until you at least get the flail to decide which one you want to upgrade. I know I said don't do the power gauntlet. I think the flail's better. That's a personal thing, but I'll at least wait to try the flail before you start putting money upgrades into the power gauntlet, and then wish you would have done the flail. Dread mace, you got a while till you get there, so you're going to be between those two for a while. The Hell Surge projectiles, basically anything that is green, parry it. And the parry window is pretty big based on your difficulty. Obviously, Nightmare is going to be a little smaller, or if you change it. But you've got projectiles that are green that you'll parry, and they'll help recharge your melee faster. That's why I was like, even though the flail takes a little longer to recharge, you parry a lot in most fights. I'm never really worried about getting it back. But you're going to have melee attacks as well, and you can parry those in kind of successive sequence too. So both of those are something that you're going to want to parry. It's just kind of paying attention to what. And I'll give you guys a little bit about that. When it comes to the Atlan or the Dragon, I don't really have to cover too much in there. The biggest thing I would say is the ships that you follow around on the Dragon. If you see the big green streak, go find them, because if you destroy those, you're going to get gold. Gold is always good for upgrades. Everything else in most of the Atlan and Dragon stuff is pretty straightforward and kind of hard to miss and figure out. But the ships, if you see the green streaks, those you might not potentially catch, but if you see them, go chase them down, sprint after them, shoot them. They're definitely worth it. So what I want to do now is I'm going to jump out here. I'm going to cover a couple things. Just remember in this demo, I am stronger than you are by a substantial margin when you get to this point. I'm done with the game at mission, end of it. This is mission 6, like your first open world. So I just want to show you kind of some examples of some of the upgrades and how things work when you jump out here. So when I jump out, first thing is you've got a shield charge. So I've got different objectives I'm going to go to. So I've got that big guy I can throw my shield out to. Notice how it basically just takes him out for a minute. So I can put some work in from down here. And then once I've got my shield back, I can do the same thing. And then that's the big E finish. And that's the big melee combo that I'm going to do with my gauntlet. You also notice you got the green projectiles coming in. So there are these tanks across the way. And you'll notice when I set the enemies on fire. So that's a parry, for example. Now my parry's increased because I've got the ability. So that's like the glory kind of hit that you're going to be able to get. But you've got these tanks. They're a really good example of the parry. So that's one. The green is what you can parry, and it's so wide of a parry window. That's why I say, on even ultra violence, it's not that bad. Same thing here. Parry window on this thing. And just move out of the way, and you're going to be good. Now, some of the parry windows are a little easier to understand. Some are not. But again, here, if I'm not too sure about this guy, but I've got it extended, remember. So just keep that in mind that yours may not hang there as long. Now, I will show you that there is a tentacle that comes out of the ground. Same thing, wait for the big green attack. And the parry really hurts some things. Parry him twice and he's dead. So you do want to get comfortable with the parry, find what works for you for parry timing and what you find comfortable. But the shield charge as well, do I need to cover some ground? It's a really good way to get a quick AoE. Watch for your explosive barrels. They can hurt you, but also really take them out. So I just want to let that thing take out some cannon fodder. Give me some ammo on the ground. Get some shield charge going. So those guys you saw had the superheated shields. Their superheated shields are going to be the big metal ones. You either have to shoot them enough. Green projectile. Green projectile. And what I'm doing is superheating his armor. See how it's glowing now? So if it's like the superheated shield they had before, or potentially like armor like that, what you need to do is basically superheat the armor, and you're able to actually knock it off with either a shield throw, more damage. So there's another set of shields. So here's a good example. Like if I need to move around the arena, use the little guys for cannon fodder, get a little health. Make sure I've got the tough guy blocked. These guys are superheated shields. Normally they don't start that way. But if I throw the shield, they basically all explode. If I want to take a guy out of the equation for a second, now I can come up here, put some in, or if I want to go melee punching, I can. And you'll notice some of those like minigun range attacks can be really difficult, but if I can take one of those, stun him for a little bit with the shield, come in with a melee and punch the crap out of him, it actually really does help quite a bit. But again, remember, I'm more powerful. That was still a struggle for me at first. I've also got a ton of upgrades. But that's kind of the thing, is like any green projectile coming at you, send it back, and you're going to be very thankful, whether it's just to take out a tank with like the biggest parry window in the world, or maybe it's just a projectile from an enemy, and as soon as you get shield runes, those projectiles become even more important. So that's kind of one section of just running around doing a little bit of this. There's one more that I want to get to kind of in the back, just to show you a couple enemy types, and then we will kind of wrap this thing up. So let me get to the back. Another small piece of advice is you're running around, you're going to have very obvious like shield breakable walls. They're going to be like glowing green. On the other side, you may not have something quite as obvious, because right up here is a shield wall that I can break. When I target it, it's there, but if you're just running by, you could easily miss that because it's not as blatant. But if you're over here, nice little shield wall. These are the shields. You always want to make sure and break those with your shield throw. And this is a type who will probably fire like a projectile. So that's a melee, and that's the bigger pulse that happens when they melee. But if you're far enough, they'll typically throw a projectile. The green one you can parry, and that'll go back. Now my shield upgrade does that lightning storm, which is really helpful. And I can take him out, and then I can go for a melee, get me some ammo. And it's just that little bit of a rotation you'll find. If you played Doom, you'll kind of start to understand the dance of shield throw, parry, melee, whatever it may be, and then you'll kind of figure out, those are the blue shields. So I can throw my shield and bounce, but depending on if I can actually reach it. So I don't actually want to shield throw everything. But what you'll notice is, like, this is a little cannon fodder guy, and when you land, you actually land with some force. You might just jump high and kill stuff. But these energy shields with plasma weapons do a nice little pulse, and they take out a group. This is your machine gun. And that's just going to be kind of your straight one. This is your impaler. Sorry. So one big giant just thunk. Just absolutely decapitated him. And again, when your shield gets... So these are some fun ones. Nice way to handle these invisible guys. One, you will probably want to parry, but two, if you just see them and they're invisible, you can still throw your shield at them and just cook them that way. So that's your parry again. Learning the parry timing on these enemies really will help a lot, because there's just so much of it in this game. Kind of one of my critiques of how much there is, but that's just kind of how it goes. Like, you can take the tank out, but the parry makes it like 9,000 times easier. Cover so much ground with the shield charge, and we're pretty good. So this is the other combat encounter that I want to show you. Just because it is a good mix of a lot of things, it also has... I want to show you pin cushion. So this is going to be pin cushion with the kind of machine gun. I've got the shotgun to set stuff on fire, and then I've got my regular gun here, or the cycler, which is really good for shocking. I'm not going to use any other stuff because you probably don't even have it here. But when it comes to melees, you're like, oh, just literally switch melee when you want to, so I'll show you what the flail looks like here. So that's taking a shield from normal to superheated. That will shatter it, which is really helpful. If I need to cover some ground in the combat arena, get to a different position, I'm going to shield charge to kind of get away a little bit. Now, up on the top, look for explosives if you've got them, which is always nice. Shield charge is great to get yourself health, but also move. If you can ever shield charge, but this is pin cushion. Now he's glowing. Now, it worked out because there were explosive barrels up there too, so that actually gets more powerful. And that big cyber demon appeared behind me, so I can shield charge to kill the group, grab some health. Now, you'll notice there's a guy up here who's got shields around him. That's the leader in the area. I can't really damage him until everything is gone, so I kind of want to keep my distance. Thing about the cyber demon, he's going to hurt a lot from range. So what I need to do is actually get close, and we're going to do a lot of parries. So that's a nice stun. I can work on loading him up with pin cushion. You almost want to like taunt him getting close to make sure he keeps attacking you and not shooting. Parry. Parry. And that's the first one. So that's like a big kind of glory hit. That's going to take a chunk off him. And this will be the finisher. And again, shield bashing to these enemies quickly, give me a little health back, just a little bit here and there. But running around the arena looking for health pickups, they're pretty good about keeping them on the arena, depending on your difficulty is how effective they're going to be, but they're not too bad when they're out there. So now you can see I've got these parryable things that I can hit. You won't have the little lightning that comes with your parry for a long time, so sorry. But I can also move my position so much quicker by moving with that shield charge. It does a ton. So I want to hit that guy. I want to bounce that projectile. I want to kind of throw this one at this guy and kind of light him up. Going to get some ammo this way. I'm going to throw some flail attacks out there. Pincushion him if I can. So again, the parry window and the parry region is so big. Once again, these guys that I'm not a huge fan of, but if I can pincushion him, but he's blocked, so he kind of hurts. There we go. All right, so again, his armor is kind of in that mid-heated state. Now the armor should be superheated at this point. So if I throw it and it bounces back, it's not quite there. But now it's got a bit of a brighter color to it, so now the armor should bounce off. And then again, like the Impaler, for example, for headshots, or here's just an energy weapon. The longer I fire, the more charge it gets. Now it's just kind of unloading. And again, if you feel like you're in trouble, this is why the cannon fodder to me is nice. It gives me a way to really cover ground and move. So I know there's an invisible dude running around. I saw him. And just that ability to really just dash across is so huge. And finish him. And these are these upgrades you're going to pick up. Like that's an ammo upgrade. Typically the yellow are. The green is armor upgrades, and the shield is, or the blue is the health upgrades. And they're just permanent upgrades. So this is what I was saying. This is a shield wall you can break just to kind of get out of the arena. They're not always that obvious, and it's usually the hidden ones that you're going to miss. Final couple things to point out. There are certain enemies that when it comes to like throwing a shield, they'll bounce it back at you. But if you parry them, they're quite effective. Or if you shield charge them, there's certain types of enemies that look like that. So if you're having any trouble throwing a shield at one, it's probably that type of enemy. And again, that's with more upgrades, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a demo of what some things can look like. But that's the cycle you'll get into. If you got energy shields, maybe I'll throw a plasma weapon out there, or maybe I'll throw my shield and bounce it around to a few of them. Do I want to go pincushion so I light them up with the machine gun, or is it just something where I just want to go shotgun and light them on fire and get myself some ammo pickups because they're on fire, and that's a perk of incendiary. So the more guns you get, the more toys you get to pick from, and then the alternate fires. I mean, you know, I've got the option of either a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher that bounces. I didn't love the grenade launcher as much. The rocket launcher, pretty nice when you get it for fun. But overall, I think that covers a good amount between settings, difficulty, and stuff that you can play around with. Look for your secrets, explore the map, because the more currencies you find, the better all of your attack options can be, like your whole arsenal gets upgraded. And when it comes to combat itself, focus on the big ones, focus on the green projectiles or melee attacks. Either one is going to be where your big focus is going to come into play, because depending on what's coming at you, it can be a little tough. But the more stuff you parry, then things get to be a lot more manageable. So I've got the shields back there that I can hit. I can come in here and I can do flail on him for a couple times. See, and I'm not even paying attention. I just saw green on my screen and I hit parry, and it's forgiving enough that that's still going to count. So the parry really, if you're playing on a reasonable difficulty, it's really, really useful, but also just keep your eyes open for green, and if you can manage to hit it, you might project or parry about 3 things at the same time. Overall, I find the game fun. I have a few critiques of it. That'll probably come up later in a different video, but for now, hopefully this gave you an idea of what to expect, kind of what to look for, and how to manage some of the stuff that's going to be coming at you. If you did enjoy the video, drop a like below, leave a comment if you've got thoughts about anything that I kind of presented here. And then when it comes to, you know, where places to find me, it's basically Ebontis everywhere. So if you want to find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Blue Sky, all that stuff, and support the content, it's always appreciated. Trying to give you guys a little show here before we go. Can't say it's not gory enough, that's for sure. And oh, shield's down. Sometimes you just want to chop them in half, sometimes you just want to shield charge. Happens both ways. Take some armor. That's why I was saying that fire, ammo, and armor thing is quite nice. So yeah, have fun shooting demons. Punch them, parry them, and all that stuff. And hopefully you guys have a good time with this one. And hopefully this video taught you a few things.